Coming up on this episode of Common Denominator.
I've built from the ground up 7 companies over 7 figures and 2 over 8. And it's definitely, there was a lot of falling on my face, scabbing my knees up and then getting back up and doing it again.
Hi, and welcome to Common Denominator, where we focus on human connection and what brings us together. I'm Moshe Popack, and today, entrepreneurship, scaling a multi-million-dollar business, and making sure you practice self-care in the process. Elisha Covey is the co-founder of an 8-figure business portfolio, including a company she scaled 4,000% in less than 5 years. She's also a trusted advisor and consultant and has expert strategies to help you flourish as an entrepreneur while living a healthy, positive, and grateful life. Before we chat with Elisha, a quick reminder that if you like the show, please subscribe and follow me on social media at @mpopack. Now, here's my conversation with Elisha Covey. Enjoy. Hi, Elisha.
Hey, how are you?
Welcome to Common Denominator.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited.
Thank you. So I wanna go back. You have this like entrepreneurial journey, but I want to start from the beginning. Your first kind of journey in your first business. Baking cupcakes, selling cupcakes, that business. How was that for you? And what are like top things that you learned from that?
Well, I have to say that was my first grown-up foray into entrepreneurship, but I had been doing side hustle my entire life. So that was nothing new to me to hustle. And I've always liked to make money. What did I learn at the bakeries? So the bakeries was my interpretation of everyone saying that if you do what you love, you won't work a day in your life. And so I was like, okay, well, what I love is to bake. Let me turn this into a business. And I learned a shitload. I hope we can cuss on your thing because I do that.
I think so.
I'm like, sorry, man, bleep me out.
By the way, I just want to say about curse words, because I got to say this, because sometimes some guests do curse. So sometimes those words explain things pretty well. So that's the framework. Okay. Anyway.
Yeah. For me, it's always cute when I see comments when they're like, "You're such a beautiful girl, but you have such a potty mouth." And I'm like, "Oh, damn it." It's going to stay that way. Just being authentic. But anyway, I learned a shitload from it. I really, really enjoyed myself. I had the ability to be super creative and tap into my feminine side, which I feel most of my life up until then I had been honing my masculine skills, just getting shit done. And so I had that time to really be creative, enjoy, learn. I had 23 girls working for me. It was definitely enlightening. But the most enlightening part was when I met my husband. We weren't married yet, but he asked me, "How many cupcakes do you have to make to be a millionaire?" And I was like, "Oh shit, this business does not align with my end goal." It's showing me that it's not in alignment. No matter how much I'm working, no matter how many bakeries I had 3 plus a food truck at that point, I wasn't going to make $1 million. So, I mean, maybe if I stuck at it for another 5 years, got a TV show, who knows? There's probably ways that you could have done it, but it wasn't going to get me there in the time frame that I wanted it to. And so I had a very important decision to make. Is this something that I enjoy enough to do at a lower dollar value, or do I want to hit my monetary goals? And so that was definitely an interesting time in my life and a decision I had to make.
I deal with that a lot. I'm dealing with my older kids. My oldest, he's almost 17. He got the real estate bug, and then my other son's 15. He loves to cook, and we have that conversation. And it's the hardest thing for me because I have a very kind of logical, my real estate business. This property. It's got a cash flow. You got to make money, and I'm having that conversation with them about passion, following your passion. Mm-hmm. And I talk to them about when things get really, really, really tough. If you're not passionate, you'll exit. You'll be gone. Yeah. So I think that's the way I like to reframe the kind of passion part.
Yeah, I think that this is, at least from what I'm seeing, on the tip of everybody's tongue and in everyone's mind. How can we make the money that we want to make, but also live the life that we want to live and harmonize between our masculine and feminine. We both have those sides, and we're not fulfilled unless we're operating in both to a different extent for each person. We all have different needs and desires, but I hear it a lot, especially from women trying to figure out, okay, in order for me to be financially successful, do I have to, for a period of time, operate heavily in my masculine so that I can bring to fruition these goals? And then I can go back later and fix my feminine that I've totally just abandoned and abused so that I could operate in this manner that gets me to my monetary goals. I literally heard a snippet from a podcast of a guy who I love. I love the things that he says and does. But literally, that's what he said. Okay, women, this is what you have to do. You have to basically man up, get your shit together, bring all of that masculine energy in and slay shit until you make the money that you want to make. And then you can go back and repair. And I was just like, fuck. Yeah. Like, is that what we're telling women to do? I just don't feel that's the answer. And I think that as women in entrepreneurship, we are a lot newer at this in general than you guys. Not that there aren't some women-owned businesses that have been here, been around for 100 years or whatever, but in general, it's newer for us, and we can't go about it the exact same way that you guys have. So we have to learn to be able to hear your experiences and learn from you guys, but turn it into something that we can actually accept and live in. And so I think that's kind of where we are in our journey as a whole of women, is how can we take all of this information and make it work best for us?
Yeah, no, I would definitely agree. And as myself, years ago, my wife and I, we actually worked together. So I'm kind of like, just moving forward and like knocking things down. And and her personality is more like process and procedure. And I came to see she has this like intuition that I don't have, and this tremendous X factor value that women have that. Yeah. And if you could find that harmony, it was super hard that first year. And I know you decided not only to go into business with your current husband, but actually you married him, right?
Yeah.
So how was that? And you guys worked together. How was that experience for you?
Yeah. So when I met him, I told him I was never getting married again. I was like, fuck that shit. Like, I've been there, done that. It did not go well. And so I wasn't going to get tied up in that again. And we really just became best friends. He was an entrepreneur. I was an entrepreneur. And I mean, we were always physically attracted to each other. So that was never a question. It was just if I wanted to pursue anything more. And after, I think, 4 years of doing whatever we were doing, we realized there wasn't anyone else that we enjoyed more. And like, what more do you need? Best friend, sexually compatible and attracted to, and then on the same path, we had the same value systems and the same goals. So it was kind of like, okay. But that was definitely, it was hard because we ended up going into business together before we were married. Right. And we are very, very different in some regards, but because we're so different, we complement each other. We don't overlap in our areas of expertise, but we had to learn how to stay in our own lanes and trust the other person while still being open to that criticism that comes along when someone else sees something that you're not seeing or missing. They're being a mirror for you. They're not trying to attack you. It's a team effort. And I think that was something that it took me a little bit to learn, is that when he was bringing these things to me, even though he is not super sweet about it, the end result is he wanted our team to win,
Right. That takes a lot. You have to be super, super open. I know for me, it took me a while to take that criticism from my wife, but we're on the same team, right? We have kids together, we have a life together. Like, if you can do it. A lot of people say, no, I can never do that, but I find that you can do that. But tell us kind of, where you are today. What space do you work in? What's your current business?
Yeah, so we still have our construction companies. We just only work for our own companies. So we only sub to ourselves. And then we're in land development and real estate together. I have actually pivoted more to doing some other projects that I was interested in but didn't have time for. I've been able to carve out some time for that. That's where the podcast came from. That's where the book that I've written has come from, and hopefully will be published this year. And then also just got my hands involved involved in a couple other newer companies that will be out soon. So I've just had a lot of time to reflect on, okay, I learned so much in business over the last 12 years. How can I use these tools that I've honed in companies that I'm more passionate about? So I'm not walking away from real estate or, of course, anything that my husband needs help in because we're a team, but I also had to find the things that light me up that I'm passionate about. And so there has been now time for me to do that, which has been really enjoyable. And also my husband's super supportive. So, and vice versa. I'm always here. Anything he needs, I'm there to do it. And I think that that's what makes the team work,
For sure. And over time, same thing, I guess, I have this opportunity. This is kind of on the show, a way to give back. We talk about kind of teach people how to fish, right? Instead of giving a fish. And so I understand that, and it's a different side of the brain. It definitely is fulfilling when people come back and just this point of advice or that idea, and it really changes people's lives. And so you kind of paying it forward. So I definitely understand that. If you're just joining us, you're listening to the Common Denominator podcast. My guest is Elisha Covey, who's offering expert strategies to help you succeed and thrive as an entrepreneur. Next week, we dive into one of the hottest topics around, ChatGPT. We'll speak with Ganesh Padmanabhan, the founder and CEO of Automize Inc., and an expert in artificial intelligence. He'll explain how ChatGPT works, how it will impact your life, and what's next in the world of AI. Should be a fascinating episode. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. Now, back to the show. Just going back to the journey with your husband as you were kind of starting and working, was there ever any time that you said, you know what, I'm going to give up? Or what's the memory of the toughest conversation, as you're growing a business? It's super tough, right?
Yeah. I mean, we grew 4,000% in 4 years. So it was from 0 to 100 in what felt like the blink of an eye. And I'm pretty sure that it started off with me firing him multiple times. I can't fucking work with you. And then after doing that, I was like, no, fuck it. I quit. You have it. So we would do this game of firing and quitting. And it was just oh, what are we doing? But we would just get so frustrated and aggravated because we couldn't get the other person to understand. It was communication, And I mean, and then being brand new married and all of the stress that comes with, a new company and trying to build it and make sure you don't fail. And it was definitely intriguing. But I think, like I told you, realizing that regardless of how the other person presents it, because he's not the type to present in a negative manner, but he just doesn't have the wide range of feelings that I have. Our first fight, he told me that words didn't have feelings associated to them. And I was just that's really funny because those words just made me want to punch you in the face. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah. No, that is true. I think I'm married 18 years, and you just have to, I guess as the man, you just have to stand there and you have to just be an ear for whatever the journey is.
And the really cool part about it is once I was able to communicate that to him and say, hey, look, I'm not looking for anything other than to tell you how I'm feeling. Mm-hmm. And your feelings are part of our issue was Charles is very fact-based, and so am I. I'm extremely fact-based. So it's where are the facts? Tell me the facts, I'll give you a decision. But there are also feelings. And so for him, feelings were something that were not facts. And I'm like, no, actually, feelings are facts. I can't help that I had this feeling, and it is now a fact that I feel angry. However, the way that I choose to respond or use this feeling is my decision. And so I can choose to use it in positive, or I can choose to use it in negative. And sometimes you just need your spouse to listen. Hey, I just need to tell you I'm having these feelings so that they can dissipate. Because if I don't speak them out and allow them to just go, then they're going to sit inside and there's going to be turmoil in there. And then I'm going to bite your head off for something else later, and you're not even going to understand why.
Yeah, no, you have to. I'm a big advocate of that. It took me a long, long time. I guess my wife says in the beginning it was kind of no opinions, and now I say whatever's on my mind. She does too. but we
Good.
do it you got to do it in a healthy way. It's important to say what you're feeling, right? There's no,
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm a big believer in that. When was the aha moment where you said, you know what, after all the craziness up and down when you're starting off the business, when was it you said to your husband, you're like, we have a viable business? When was that like aha moment? It could be like monies that came in or contracts or land or profit that you
Yeah, yeah,
made.
yeah. I mean, I think the first $1 million deal that I closed, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I had worked for AT&T before I went on my entrepreneurial journey. So I was used to big numbers. They weren't my numbers, but they were big numbers. And so seeing the sales rack up in our first company together was really cool. But I will say the first $1 million deal I closed, I was like, fuck yeah. That
Sure.
was awesome.
Yeah, no, for sure. Did you always have this kind of like entrepreneurial spirit as a young age? Were you always?
I really do think I did. I feel like it came from my mom's side of the family and my dad's side of the family.
Mm,
And although my other siblings are not entrepreneurs, but it's hard. It's like you have to be able to balance the emotional roller coaster. And if you want stability, then I would suggest entrepreneurship is not for you.
yeah.
But and also, I mean, stability, what is stability? I think that it's kind of a farce. But people feel like that if they have a job, a 9 to 5, and they get
Mm,
paid every 2 weeks, that's stable. The stability in entrepreneurship is you're betting on yourself. So if you can always bet on yourself and you've always proven yourself right, then go for it. To me, it's more stable. But I think most people can't wrap their mind around like it's just me and it all comes down to me and it's all my responsibility. But for me, that's a good place to be.
no, I definitely agree with that, and I know. I guess maybe there's been a journey, especially nowadays, right? We have the cell phones, and we're always constantly available. Uh, I know you're a big advocate of like self-care. How do you
Yeah.
find what do you have to? What's the process if someone's like kind of like this crazy workaholic, and they're trying to make it happen? How do you like kind of stop that and balance life? What's
Yeah.
the you know?
Yeah. So first of all, I don't think there is such thing as balance. I that word, I'm just like, oh my God, because balance means equal, right?
Mm,
So something weighs the same, it's in balance. And I feel that self-care is never that way. It's not like if I sleep 8 hours a day and I work 8 hours a day and then I have 8 hours a day for self-care, I'm good. That's not accurate. I think it's a little bit more accurate for men than for women because your cycles are every 24 hours, so you're pretty easy to predict. But for women, we are on the same 24-hour cycle as you guys, but then we're also on our 28-day or 30, depending on the woman cycle. So we have very different needs depending on the time in our cycle. And so for me, it was learning to not be jealous of my husband's ability to wake up every day and know who he is and where he is and what he
mm,
wants, and accept that, hey, yes, I feel different, at different times of the month, and I am better at different things at different times of the month. But this is a superpower. This isn't a thing to be resented and wish that I was more like him, because I definitely spent quite a few years wishing I was more like he was so that I could perform on the same level in my mind as he did. And then once I realized I could embrace that and use it as my superpower, it definitely changed my trajectory and also was more helpful to him, actually. And it's kind of like what you were speaking about with your wife.
yeah.
In order to be able to hone into that sixth sense or that ability to feel and know things that you're not quite sure how you have that intuition, you have to be peaceful. And then you have to be in touch with your feminine. And in order to be those things, you have to be taking care of yourself. So you don't get to just turn on your femininity. I can turn on my masculinity in an instant. If I want to go get some shit done, it's very easy. But your femininity, you have to drop into that.
Yeah.
So I think that's the key difference. Masculine, you turn it off and on. Feminine, you drop into.
Yeah, no, and I always find like I'm tinkering with this. It's like kind of the same passion, and again, there is no. You're right, because I said to my wife, she's like, we gotta leave time for this, time for that. I was like, what do I do? And I'm trying to be super efficient. I'm like, what do I do if, things are super important, right? You're dealing with stuff that's super important, and I say, on every single thing, on every single day, you have to bring your passion, everything that you're doing, the same passion that you're, or the same drive that you're bringing to work, same thing in your personal life, same thing with my kids. I try. At least I know that when I go to bed at night, at least I try, and I think that that's the best that we can do as humans, right?
Yeah,
I mean, right?
I agree.
To try to bring that forward, right? So what is what is one, like, now you have, I guess, over 100 employees plus, and I always think about how tough it is now to work and hire people. What is what do you look for? What's the top 2 or 3 things you look for when you're looking for an employee that's going to be kind of like a superstar or someone that's going to really add value?
Yeah. I'm looking for people that can show me that they align with our core values. So what are our company's core values, and can they show me ways in business and in personal that they align with those values? So it's definitely, hiring is interesting. I mean, I think that I've interviewed over 500 people minimum, and it's always, it's nice to hear the things people say, but to me, it's like dating. You're going on one date with them and then you're going to have them in your business, 1 or 2 dates. So it's always a little bit tricky. I definitely enjoy listening to how they speak about their current and past employers. That's always a big indicator for me, because I mean, I had jobs before I was an entrepreneur and I didn't love all of my bosses, but I could always find the lesson in what they were teaching me or trying to teach me. Did I always think they handled things correctly? No, but I walked away with more than I went in with, right? And so I like to see that people can see the light and the lesson in everything. And sometimes the lesson is that you don't belong there, right? That's like, oh, I don't align with these core values. And that's a really easy thing to say. But if you come at it with, oh, well, my boss sucked, or he didn't keep his word, and like, I would much rather hear someone say that, hey, these are my personal core values, and that company's core values and behavior didn't align with mine anymore. You're telling me what I need to hear. You're telling me the truth,
Right.
but you're saying it in a positive manner that shows me that you took the time to reflect and really understand, why are we not in alignment anymore? Because they could have started off in alignment and then became in disalignment. That happens all the time.
Yeah, and I think
But that's what I really look for.
I really like that idea of someone, you can have the same set of facts, but they communicate it with a glass half full. That means that they're, if they join your organization, they're gonna come with solutions. They're gonna try, right?
Yeah, because nowhere is perfect. And it's just like, most of the time, I think that most unhappiness is created by a lack of ability to communicate well. So lack of ability to communicate that your expectations are being met from both sides. That's what creates, the unhappiness. And so it's just like, to hear people bash others, to me, is like, meh, I don't want that in my company, because it's like, I'm not perfect either. And I know that we will have a point where we have miscommunication. If we work together for any amount of time, it's going to happen. And so I want to know that you're looking for the solution and the lesson in everything and the light, versus being like, well, it's always somebody else,
For sure. So I definitely align with that. And I also appreciate that that you always look for knowing yourself and hiring people that are your weakness. I'm a huge proponent in that. I'm trying to always be open. There's a lot that people can teach me, and so right. So I always think the school system, right? So I was like, oh, you got to learn this, this, and this, and this. But in reality, in business, if you have a cohesive group and team with strengths and weaknesses, right, and everybody's collaborating, everybody's truthful, everybody's transparent, all of a sudden you have compounding results, right?
Yeah.
So I know you're a big fan of that.
I am.
Yeah.
I love collaboration. I feel like that's where the best comes out. I don't think I'm the smartest person in the room. I think that I'm good at bringing smart people together.
Right.
So, and then also good at getting people to talk, and that's where ideas come out. So it's just like, oh, find the smartest people. First of all, find your weaknesses. I'm very in tune with what my weaknesses are. I'm also very in tune with what my strengths are. So I know who I need to bring in. And then once you've brought those people in, listen to what they have to say.
And I know that's super important. You do business coaching. Why is that important to you at this point, to kind of mentor and coach people in business?
Yeah, I think that for me, it's actually a lot of fun. So I've built from the ground up 7 companies over 7 figures and 2 over 8. And it's definitely, there was a lot of falling on my face, scabbing my knees up and then getting back up and doing it again. But if I can save others from some of those lessons by sharing them and showing them, then to me, that is the ultimate goal. And so that is something that I do one-on-one business coaching. I mean, business coaching to me is also personal. Personal always ends up coming in because whatever you're doing personally reflects into your business. So I really enjoy taking businesses from like 1 million to 5 million, 5 million to 10 million, 10 million to 20. Those are my wheelhouse.
It's really, really cool. So it's both men and women that you coach, or? Yeah.
I do coach both.
Do you find it, in today's society, do you find it a little more challenging for women to be entrepreneurs in general? Or are there enough tools that kind of equal and just, again, different strengths?
Yeah, that's interesting. For me, I wouldn't say it's been more difficult, but then again, I'm not a dude. I don't know how it would be if I was one. And I think that for some women, I have heard that in different industries like tech and stuff like that, I've heard that it is more difficult, but I am not involved in those industries, so I couldn't really speak on it. Yeah. For me, it's been actually very nice. I have been fortunate enough to meet a lot of amazing men along my journey that have been more than willing to share and help coach me. And so, like I was saying earlier, it's really just learning how to take the information that they're sharing with me and turn it into something that I can use as a woman. So you can't just plug and play. That's what I used to try to do. And that's what burned me out, because I was like, oh, okay, everything that I'm really good at execution. So everything that they would tell me, I would exactly institute it, exactly as they said. And yes, it works, but it also crushed me at the same time. So I had to figure out, okay, this is what they're saying. This is where they're trying to get me. How can I get there, but add in some femininity so that I'm still in harmony?
Yeah, I really like that. So what's next for you personally, professionally? I know you have, if you have an entrepreneurial spirit, your mind is always going. So what does that look like?
So I think what's next, I told you I've got a book hopefully coming out this year. It's already finished. We're just trying to find the right publisher. And there will be a line of stuff with that, hopefully, as well. That's been a really fun creative project for me. And then I will be kind of reintroducing my podcast. There's been some changes there, which are super fun. It's been, I took a couple months and was in Europe and did a documentary while I was there, which I'd never done that before. So just kind of dipping my finger into a lot of new creative spaces and seeing which ones entice me and which ones I enjoy. Because for me, it's all about connection. I love connecting with people. I love sharing stories. I love hearing about their genius and sharing it with the world. And so that's really what my passion is right now, is just connection.
Yeah, I think it always comes down to that. I think in our nature, we're just social beings. Once we drop the barriers and we begin our own personal journeys, that's more and more. You want to connect authentically with people. I think that's where that's where we're going. So
I agree with you.
And what's something that you're grateful for?
Ooh, grateful for. I feel like so much. The really interesting thing about gratitude that I found to be very funny in my journey is, in the beginning, I didn't even think about it. All I ever thought about as soon as I woke up was what needed to be done and executed. Then I realized, okay, I have got to learn to be grateful for what I have and what I've co-created with the universe already, or else I'm not going to get to that next phase, because I can't even acknowledge the amazing things that have already happened. And so then there was that stage where I would be very intentional about my gratitude. Okay, I need to write these things down, or I want to think about them for a certain amount of time. And then I got to a point which this is my favorite, where I just wake up and I feel grateful. And it's not that I have to try to feel grateful. It just automatically, I'm like, oh, it's a new day and I'm still here and I get to do these wonderful things. And that to me was a really beautiful progression. I didn't know that was how it would go. And I don't know if that's common, but I realized that it's such a beautiful way to wake up in the morning when you can really just be grateful for the little things. For me, the things that I'm most grateful for, which was your question, is connection and people. It's like, you know what? Everything else comes and goes. Money comes and goes. Stock markets go up and down. Businesses come and go. All of that stuff is just stuff. But people and creating true connection and helping each other and enjoying each other and living life together, that's probably the thing I'm most grateful for.
Yeah. So, I mean, if we can get one person at a time to reach that level of just waking up and living in gratitude, that would be an amazing place.
Yeah. And I mean, it doesn't happen every day.
Yes.
I will say that. Like, it's interesting to me. I haven't figured out what cues it. Like, okay, how could I make this happen every day? But it happens more days than not. And so I just continue what I'm doing to see, man, I would love to wake up feeling that way every day. And that's the goal.
And I always think, like, kind of, if you write it down, you look back at that journal of gratitude, right? It's like, that's what it is. Look at all the things. Thank you, right?
Yeah.
It's always and what's something that people don't know about you?
I'm a huge dork. I don't really tell people that I'm a huge dork. I say the goofiest shit and my husband's like, you're making yourself laugh. And I'm like, I know. And he's just like, okay, you're something else. But yeah, I don't really go around saying that. And I guess if you don't live with me, you don't see it. But yeah,
but
huge
it's good.
dork.
You're being as authentic that could be. So Elisha, I want to thank you so much. Really informative, really great. How can the audience follow you on social and connect with you if any business consulting?
Yeah, I had a great time with you too. On social media, it's just Elisha Covey. So ELISHACOVEY. And I'm on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, whatever is easiest. And then if you're interested in coaching, executive coaching, shoot me a DM.
Cool. Thank you so much.
It's really been awesome. I had a great time with you. Hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much, Elisha. Thank you.
Bye.
Hope you enjoyed my conversation with Elisha. Next week, I'll speak with tech pioneer Ganesh Padmanabhi, who'll share his expertise on ChatGPT and how it's revolutionizing the world of artificial intelligence. I can't wait for that conversation. Please subscribe to the show so you don't miss an episode and follow me on social media at Popack. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you again soon.